there's anyone here. Welcome in, welcome all. Yeah, cup of Joe with CoCo. We're gonna have a little chat, a little chat because there's a lot going on. It's kind of like it's personal, but I know it's gonna reflect out for someone out there in the collective, and we're gonna do a reading too. We got cards, we got things. How's everyone doing? Um, it has to do with reality bending. It has to do with um a lot of integration and a lot of like right now um the focus in that's been going on with me is about alignment, like really truly aligning the journeys and how we bring everything forward through into like one pathway, one beautiful pathway for ourselves. Hi Alicia, how are you? So there's been this belief structure that's been occurring in my own reality, recognizing that I've been talking about it for a while, and many of us get this download, and it's called I've called it the golden pathway or the golden timeline. Hey Angela, how's it going, sweetie? Um, it's about the golden pathway, and I call this golden pathway the alignment of every single thing into one timeline, and how we can do it all in one timeline and how we balance through that. Right now, there's a balance in the archetypes, architecture. Archetypes, architecture, same thing, essentially, in the reality. And as we're like moving through the monad and we're making our adjustments to the universal orchestration and bringing everything into alignment, the ones that are coming forward for me are the crone, the galactic, and the child, and trying to bring them onto the same page where they can like harmonize. Because I'm saying that there's been this just like radical acceptance of who I am at a soul level and not being able to compromise anymore, which means now that the reality now has to bend and reflect these new versions of ourselves that are coming online. And so like when we take the for instance, the earth goddess, right? The earth goddess, and we merge it with the star and we merge it with the child. It's like, how do we bring our star magic forward, right? How do we do what we need to do and came here to do, so we can feel like we're in alignment. um, for myself, and I know many others, there's things that we've been wanting to do, wanting to create, that we haven't been doing, and you might feel the soul a little bit calling you forward and being able to do that. That's why I did the message yesterday of just do the thing. Just do it. Just do the thing. Just do it. Whatever it is you're gonna do, just do it. Even myself included, right? Like setting this up, it was like, do I grab the guitar? Do I like what do I do? And it's like, well, why can't we do everything, right? Why can't we do everything right now? Because of the inner child work going on and the level of play, I'm noticing that now I'm having to bring my child into my creations, so there can be a balance point, right? And I want to speak about balance a little bit, guys, because it's really important. Is that as we receive these activations, as we receive these downloads, as we remember who we are, and we're beginning to care for the child, care for the father, care for the mother, a part of the reparenting, right, that occurs, and a part of the integration and the realignment is making these micro or macro adjustments throughout our day, right? And so, like, even for myself, it's been with the star child. It's like, okay, I now need to bring the star child into my business because, like, he's been needing a lot of attention. There's also a lot of like, beautiful relationships that are flourishing in my reality and things like that. And those kinds of things, they take precedence while we're going through our building process and our realignment, right? And so it's like our future goals and our future visions that we have for ourselves, for humanity, and for the collective, they require us to really take a moment to approach everything with the place of harmonization and balance. Harmonization and balance. Yes, the birds have a message. um, there's a lot of that we need to do in bringing things into alignment, which is to basically kind of like, it's like assembling a puzzle, right? And recognizing that there's no one way to fit the puzzle together. It's just really about how you're choosing consciously to align everything, right? Choosing consciously to align everything, and then recognizing where like you're still playing in a struggle narrative, or you're having difficulty being able to fully understand what you're here to do. Like sometimes it requires return turning back to simplicity, because I find myself when I look at what I'm here to accomplish on planet Earth with the downloads that I've gotten over the course of my lifetime, what I knew I was here to do, it can feel overwhelming. It can. And so then we really have to take a step back and go, okay, what are the little things that I can do every single day to show up for myself, to show up for humanity, to end the compromise, right? And to begin knowing that a part of this pathway is we have to trust our sovereign self. We have to trust what we're here to do. We have to just keep putting our foot forward and know that regardless of what we might perceive is going to occur, to know that like God has our backs, or to know that source has our backs, or that the universe has our backs, whatever you want to state, right? Like I'm going to be using a little bit more of the God vernacular in this because of kind of what's going on with the Essenes and the Cathars and like what's awakening within myself. So if you hear me talking about God more, it's because there's a version of me that's coming forward with that. Um, but it's also being able to play in what we do as we show up, right? Yes, you have your back. It's that we have to play as we're showing up as well, right? And then also gift ourselves, the inner father, to allow the child to be able to take to like be a part of that journey. And for myself, growing up, I saw that there was a lot of separation between work and family. I saw there was a ton of separation between work and family, and it was like, oh, dad's always gone, and da 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 da. And when I would go to work with him, work wasn't fun because he was an IT guy, right? And like IT just wasn't my thing. And so now a part of this journey is like, how can I bring my child forward in what I'm doing in a healthy manner? Because it really is like, it's about, for myself, aligning this reality to the essence of play, the entire reality, aligning it to play. It was a download I got when I first got to Sedona. I was in a hotel. I was in a hotel. I think I'll post a reading on the community page, but it was talking about that the new pathways that are unlocking right now, that the divine child has to be a part of the creation now, and it's that the child is the one that's doing the creating. Now the thing is though, is if my child were well, no, here's what I want to state. Here's what I want to state. When it comes to bringing the child forward, the limitations of the belief systems or the programming or whatever it is that you want to state it as, the spell that you've been casting, will come forward for you to be able to witness, and including myself. It's like self-worth, self-value, lack consciousness, all that stuff, all that just distorted programming, going, oh my gosh, why am I playing with this, right? And then like beginning to look at the archetypes and begin making peace with how the archetypes fit into our reality, where we've been like pushing off certain archetypes of ourselves. Also allowing the belief systems to just organically repair by beginning to say no, and just shifting out the old belief systems and going, I can have a reality where X, Y, or Z, right? Whatever it is that you see or perceive for yourself in regard to being the divine child in your reality, and in your business approach as well. And especially, when it comes to being quantum and all the cleanup and stuff that's going on. If you've been a part of the the global cleanup work and the mass awakening, you know how interesting it could be to align things, right? And so a part of this right now is like, it's an opportunity to first off gift ourselves a moment to just kind of like say, you know, thank you to ourselves for the work that we've been doing, right? To say, you know what, this to come down here and to do the cleanup work, to be a part of the planetary ascension, to advocate for people, right? To advocate for awakening, to advocate for sovereignty and freedom, is by no means easy. And there's even, people out there that are putting their necks on the line to bring the revelation forward. And I just want to say, aho, I see you, thank you, I love you. A lot of this journey hasn't been easy, yes, but we've all been doing a really good job. Even if you don't feel like you've been doing a good job, you've been doing a great job. We're starting to see how the realities are shifting, and I'm starting to feel it. I'm noticing it in the way I'm speaking. Big shout outs and kudos to the brothers in Sedona that have been helping out, and to just everyone all around the world, right? We're not going to isolate or separate anyone, but it's just thank you to everyone that's been showing up and doing the work and helping us to co-create, and all the wonderful stuff. Everyone over in Hawaii and California, just shout out to all of you. Washington. It's been an interesting journey right now, bringing everything into balance and alignment. But what we have to start doing is we have to start asking those really important questions to ourselves, right? Start creating that dialogue with our universe again. It's how can I bring this into alignment, right? How can I show up as the divine child and be able to play in all that I do? What does my child need to be today, right? What do I need to let go of? Am I compromising at a soul level? Begin asking those questions, right? Because as we're moving through the architecture, especially the old architecture and the old archetypes, those things will come up for us to face, and everyone's going to face it differently. It might be a belief system, it might be a reality check, it might be that you are having an experience with an aspect or a guide, and you realize, like, oh, I need to have a conversation with this aspect or version of me to bring things into alignment, right? And that's a part of moving through the architecture. And it's something that I'm currently weaving through myself, and I'm witnessing that there's archetypes in architecture that I didn't even know existed. Oh, look, 14 in the room, and 4 likes. We got the 144 going. Um, there's a lot of architecture versions of me, especially in the masculine ranges, that need a lot of care right now, right? Like, the masculine archetype is going through a complete rewiring, right? Complete rewiring. And as a result, we're learning more. I mean, when I'm looking at the different archetypes of the masculine that I hold, and I'm hearing other people's have as well, it's like, it's fascinating to see how many different versions of the father exist. um, because the focus has been on the mother, but the father really, the father still needs a lot of care and a lot of attention right now, because there's been a lot of distortion in the masculine framework and in the masculine architecture. So the masculine architecture itself is going through a complete rewiring, right? And the mom is coming up, and mama bear handles things differently depending upon which version of mama bear you're working with. Mama bear handles things differently. It's a lot of care, a lot of rest, a lot of nurture. But we're also, I'm recognizing that there is a masculine component of nurture that is available here, especially in, like, the angelic ranges. Especially in the angelic ranges, there is a masculine archetype that is very nurturing, and it's kind of like discovering how that is and how that fits into the puzzle as well. Um, because, yeah, it's been really fascinating navigating the multidimensionality, and what is showing up in our reality and how we can accept it, right? um if you guys, did anyone feel the moon last night? Like, oh my gosh, the moon was just, talk about gorgeous last night. The moon was just gorgeous. It was pumping out violet ray all night. There was these huge violet ray activations, and then we were getting this, like, lime green activation coming through, this lime green ray from the moon. And you could feel the soothing, calming sensation of the moon. Okay. So with that, it's like, also now that our magic is very much so being accepted now, but there's still distortion that some of us might have to work through, but dependent upon ourselves, dependent upon our belief systems, dependent upon who we were in past lives, right? There's a lot of interesting things that are coming up in regards to paganism, witchcraft, things of that nature, and then I've been encountering it in my own life, right? And especially as you're in the process of integrating any form of, like, what we might want to state as a dogmatic structure, right? So Essenes, Cathars, Christ consciousness, right? It's like, we're really bringing, as these polarities are coming closer and closer together, and they're coming more into balance. I'm witnessing the softening and the peace that's occurring with these versions of ourselves, where they can be here, right? Where we can, light our candles, we can do our thing, we can dance around in the forest, whatever it might be. Is how do we bring them all forward, and then also make sure we take a step back from not consistently identifying ourselves with one archetype. Like, so even myself, the priestess, like, I love being the priestess, but it also brings in a lot of different things and variables that we have to work with. And so it's returning back to the eternal essence, right? And shout out to Anne here for bringing that one up for me. She's been helping me a lot with that one. And it really is about returning back to just the essence of creation, which is the spark. It's the spark of divinity that exists within you. It's just that you are divine. And sometimes we have archetypes to gift ourselves understanding, especially if you're very psychologically focused, right? Like, so me, I've always been psych focused, Jungian focused, right? So the archetype gives me, it gives me something to kind of go by. Like, we could call it a framework or the architecture, right? It gives me the architecture, kind of, which is the blueprint for how that reality is supposed to be. But we can create limitations when it comes to our multidimensionality, and when it comes to flow, if we constantly are observing and living within archetypes. So, two common archetypes that don't coexist a whole lot that I've seen in my reality, and please, if I'm wrong, someone, call it out. the priest and the pagan, right? Like polar opposites. And it's just like, how do we bring them in? How do we bring this creation together, right? Like, how do we bring this creation together? First off is peace. First off, too, is like, this is where we step into freedom from the architecture, right? Is just, it's like, if you just want to be your divine self, how does your divine self show up with its heart open wide and just present itself as it is, right? So it's very much so getting yourself the opportunity, if you're playing with archetypes, if you're playing with architecture, if you're doing that monadic work and you're doing these like adjustments and bringing everything in back into source self, is like, how do we just become the endless expansive infinite version, and how does that version of us want to create here and now, right? How does it want to create here and now, which is going to be different for every single individual, right? So it's about accessing the divine self and really just bringing that version of ourselves forward as we're blending and merging these two. And especially with the child, right? Like the biggest one lately has been the child, right? Because like a lot of us right now are in the process of birthing our Christ child. A lot of us are getting children back, right? Like our etheric children. So if you've had children from other star systems like Cassiopeia, if you have a Cassiopeian child and they were in a storyline, right? Us getting our child back is that child needs a lot of attention, right? And even myself, my inner child right now needs and deserves a lot of attention. And so then it's like, well, how can we feel if you're in an autonomous reality, right? And you've been doing things extremely independently, you might feel this one is like, how do we operate as the child but still get things done? Do our laundry, cook and do the dishes and clean and bring in income, right? And like, and still maintain balance. We are in the process of remembering how to do that again, how to be that sovereign, autonomous self, especially if you're an entrepreneur, especially if you're thinking about starting a business. It's really about just noting that experience itself with your awareness is going to gift you the opportunity to witness what the lesson is. Once you extrapolate the lesson, right, from the experience, and you embody it fully and you live by that, that's when it becomes wisdom. Karma clear, right? Now we're entering into that dharmic cycle and that dharmic swing where we're now pushing the pendulum into a momentum where we understand at a greater level how to harmonize our reality with these new versions of ourselves, and opening up to a greater understanding of what flow is for us. And yes, it's about balance. Everything's been about balance, right? Everything ever since Libra season started, everything for me has been about the scales of justice and bringing everything into that. And this is where we're starting to really witness for ourselves, right? Like what it really means to be into balance and to not take balance personally, guys. Do not personalize balance. Just don't. I mean, like, you can if you want to. Wait, freedom, free will, autonomy, and sovereignty. If you want to take balance personally, take balance, right? Myself, I can't, right? Because there is an orchestration in effect. The pendulum is swinging, right? And as we're going through the sways and the shift, right, is that some things might not feel fair, or you might start to feel like there's been an injustice, or this is happening, and you can start playing into the patterns of victimization and blame, which, by the way, victim has been up. Like, I don't know if anyone else has witnessed themselves going victim recently, but victimization has been up. Victimization, bullying, right? Like all of that stuff. It's like one of those things where we have to recognize for myself, is as being a witness of creator, right? Of being a witness of creator, as creator, within creator, creator in the form, living within creation and expanding and sharing creation, is taking full responsibility for what I've created and then doing what I can to shift it out and to bring resolution to that situation. So for those of us that are peacekeepers, right, it's how do I bring peace into this situation, right? What do I do? How can I share my heart light wide enough to where it's going to bring that love and that resolution to the situation? Um, and it's really about harmonizing, right? Like, we want to be guilt free, we want to be torment free, we want to be free of the subjugation, but we also recognize that there's a lot of existences and creations at play that we've been a part of and we've consciously created that we have to dissolve. That I mean, you don't have to do anything, right? Honestly, you don't have to do anything. You can do whatever you want, right? But for Corey, as the soul sovereign self, is witnessing these creations and the architecture and going, oh yeah, okay, and I see that. And a lot of it too is witnessing that in our own lives, especially as we're co-creating, is how universes merge, and then all of a sudden we're witnessing architecture from other realities. And we're now beginning to, now that we've taken a part in that process, why is that showing up, right? Why, how does this affect me in my reality, and those kinds of things, and really being able to start making what that conscious choice is. The truth shall set you free. Love you, sweetie. Bye, Angela. Bye, Nike. Bye, Victory. So yeah, we're just, we're remembering how to play with creation again, and how to show up in these realms and in these forms, and being able to like have the opportunity to shift into what these new realities are, right? It really is fun. It really is fun, but it's like, even myself right now, I'm recognizing, okay, there's some things that need to come into alignment, and I see it, right? And it's like, a lot of this kind of work too that's occurring is, especially if you are witnessing, like, so a lot of this experience recently has been contractual, right? Like, a lot of my experience here has been contractual, and I found out about it. I found out that it's, a lot of it is contracted work, and meaning soul contracts, and a part of that is sometimes those soul contracts don't feel good, right? You're like, oh gosh, and so it's like, okay, well, how do I clear this contract, right? If I'm in a contract, how do I clear it? Well, show up with your heart light on, right? Keep your heart light on, and just keep moving forward, right? Yeah, especially when it comes to like a betrayal, abuse, things like that, victim scenarios, right? It's one of those where it's like, oh, I just, we have to shift this out. Some of these contracts we can upgrade and realign and shift. Some of them you just got to go through it. Sometimes you just got to go through it and recognize that there's a lesson in this, and the lesson for you is going to be exactly what you need for soul evolution and soul expansion. Remember that, is that we're all in an evolutionary cycle right now. Even if it feels like stasis, you're in an evolutionary cycle. And so a part of the passage point and the pathway point, the way through this, right, is to just, love yourself. Love yourself. Love yourself, show up in your love, and recognize that we're all a part of this cosmic orchestration. We're clearing a lot of divide, and we're coming into unity, especially with the divide and conquer strategies, right? Anywhere that we're still playing in separation, anywhere there's division of soul family members, anywhere, any of that stuff, right? Big one that needs to clear right now and shift out, especially out of the tribes, the monad, things like that, whatever you want to call it, the oversoul level, is where we're still playing in divide or division, right? And where we're still trying to conquer others, or, you know, where we're still trying to conquer others, or we're trying to conquer landscapes, right? Playing King of the Hill. It's just they're all going to teach you lessons, right? But like, we also understand that us as the divine royalty in this harmonized unified kingdom, is that those things aren't going to belong anymore. And so we really do have to start recognizing that we're all that divine royalty. We're all the kings and queens. We're all the star family, right? And as a result, it requires appreciation for the experience, but honor, a lot of honor, and a lot of taking moments to recognize that there is no hierarchy, right? And if you're playing in the game of hierarchy, cool, been there, done that. There's always a very beautiful lesson in it, right? There's always a beautiful lesson in hierarchy, and we will all get that lesson. We will all get that lesson, right? And it's really about coming back to a place of peace and humility within all of us. A place of peace and humility within all of us, because we're all kings, we're all queens, right? We're all royalty. Especially if you go up to Lyra, and go into what's going on Lyran and other starseed civilizations. We all hold that essence within us, right? So it's just about remembering that, and then making sure that we don't take those versions of ourselves too far, so we don't have to have that radical lesson, unless that's what you need for your evolutionary cycle. If that's what you need to evolve, right, is to go through that, then cool, you'll go through that. For myself, I've had to go through that humble awakening quite a few times, and we just shake it off. That's what we do. We shake it off. Remember, you're resilient. As light, you're very resilient, and remember that appreciation for the divine and surrender are very important opportunities for us to grow and to expand. So a lot of this has been, if you feel like you can't quite make it through, or there's a lot of resistance within you, just keep surrendering, guys. Just like, honestly, just surrender. Just surrender. Just let the body completely fall, right? Like, and think about that. Like, even myself right now in the field, I just said surrender, and my shoulders just dropped so much, and the weight just shifted out of the room. And it's because there are people still in here that are holding on to that resistance, and that resistance creates a lot of turmoil in our lives, right? And it's a part of our internal conditioning. And as soon as we recognize it, bam, we can drop the resistance just by surrendering, just by surrender, right? That's that fourth dimensional construct of the internal war that we see reflected outside of ourselves, right? That's the division, right? So as we're bringing these polarities into balance, we can come into a place of knowing I'm safe where I'm at, right? I love myself. I'm going to be here for myself, you know, and showing those gratitude statements for self, and gratitude and appreciation for the experience, right? Even if it sucks. This has been a big one recently. I've been going through some things and I'm like, oh man, this doesn't feel good, right? But it's like, can I be grateful for that? Because this experience for ourselves is feeling. We're feeling beings in a body. Feeling beings in a body. So, you know, a part of this is that, can you allow the energetics to flow through you to give you the opportunity to feel what you need to feel, and just let it go? Whether it's sadness, heartache, pain, or it's the most blissed out yourself, the opportunity to harmonize with who you are here and now, which means that you're an emotional being in a body, and emotionality is a part of your journey, right? And sometimes the feelings that come up, they don't feel good, and some of them can be a little difficult to feel, right? Especially if they're really deep. I will say that there's been a big part of my journey where and I think it's been about the past 9 months that I've dealt with this one trauma, this one tragedy, this one wound, and you know, and it keeps coming up layer by layer by layer, and it keeps clearing, it keeps clearing, it keeps clearing, it keeps clearing. As long as I give myself the opportunity to feel everything, right? And sometimes I can't feel it by myself. There was a lot of times where I was going through it and I wouldn't feel. I would shut down. I'd close up, and I would just like stay in my anger, right? And it's like, what's beneath the anger? Because anger is always perpetuated by fear. So then if we go, what are we afraid of, right? Is it our mortality? Is it a fear of showing up? Is it a fear of our light? Is it a fear of knowing who we are, even in the realms of unconsciousness, or what many would speak of shadow? So as we're witnessing shadow, can you accept that that's a part of you? Because not a lot of people can. Even myself, there's been shadowy elements that I run into, and I go, how is that me? How did I do that, right? Like, especially in regards to like the patriarch, right? Like, once I witnessed the patriarch and all this stuff, it's like, how is that me? It's just like, essentially we could just see it as deeply ingrained societal conditioning that is working with us to gift us the opportunity to hear, see, feel more, and then to clear it at a cellular level and an energetic level, and to begin shifting that process, right? So it's been very interesting, coming into acceptance with what these versions of us are, and how they are co-creating, with the collective stage and with the collective realities. So anyway, this is basically kind of just a ramble right now. That's just, you know, that was the call, right? That was the call, was to just kind of show up and share and read and hear the field. I got some cards. I was gonna bring my guitar out and play some music, but I don't think I'm going to today. I think we'll do that on another live stream. Just set up a live stream. Um, Set up a live stream and do some music stuff too. So yeah, it's really cool. We're kind of like we're painting a whole new world for ourselves right now. And that's what I just heard, is the song "A Whole New World" by Aladdin. We're painting a whole new world for ourselves, and as a result, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world where you're like, oh my gosh, do I really want to? Do I want to paint here? I think I don't know. I know a few of us lately have gone through that part of the process where we're like, this is ridiculous. Can we, can we, can we? No one's gonna save us, guys. Okay, no one's gonna save us, because I just found myself doing it. Right, ships ain't coming to save you. Right, they might come by and say what's up. The ship might hop by and go, hey, how's it going, to give you a wake up call, but they ain't gonna save you. Sorry, but Jesus isn't coming down to save you. That's Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene. Actually, they're asking us to do the work, right? Like, the masters are asking us to do the work because we are the masters, right? Like, we're the ones that are here doing that stuff, and we're not here to save the world, right? Like, some people play by that, right? And if you play by that, awesome. Like, because I see it too. Like, I love helping people. I love saving people, not from a place of savior or a place of like disempowerment, but like, you know, if I'm walking down the street and I see someone trip and fall, I'm gonna reach my hand out and go, hey, you need a hand up, right? Like, that's the Care Bear stare, right? So it's like, That's the thing, is that the Care Bears aren't flying down from the heavens to rescue us. We're the freaking Care Bears. So we have to be the Care Bear, right? We have to be the Care Bear. And some of us have to be the Care Bear in density and in realms and in worlds that might not be easy. If you're there right now, right? If you're in a situation like, cities, or you're working for a company and you're encountering this, I just want to state to you, you're there for a reason, because you have the mastery tools within you to be able to complete that process. Okay, you're not put there by accident. You're put there because you're meant to be there. And a lot of people, it's kind of a wishy-washy belief system. I agree. Some people are like, how? Go within and find it. Go within and find it. Hey Mel, what's up, girl? What you doing, Mel? Yeah, by the way, I'm live, so I'm talking to the live chat. If I'm, I'm not totally crazy, totally bonkers, just a little bonkers. But if you're in those dense environments right now, and you're there, transmuting a lot of energy, or you're doing grid work, or you're there leading the way for your family or for your relatives, I want to say I honor you, right? Because I've been in those situations before. I've been in those difficult situations, especially in the streets, right? I want to say I love you, I honor you. To go be an angel, to go be a high angelic out in the hood, or to go be a high angelic when you're homeless, I honor you. I know what it's like. It's not easy. Just keep showing up. Keep showing up, right? Just keep doing the good work, because you're there because you have the tools, right? And it's really about you just being who you are. Thank you, Corey. Keep doing you. All of us keep doing you. Just keep being you. Keep being beautiful, right? No matter what. Because we're the stuff that's shifting out, especially in regards to like our magic and our abilities and all these archetypes, architecture, things like that, is that there's been a lot of wounding that we have to shift through. And we have to remember, guys, the wounding itself, the wounding, it's just old residual energy. It's not in the reality anymore, right? There's a lot that shows up for myself where I go, why is this here? And it's like, dude, the process is completed. You're just unraveling it from your body. Just let it be, right? Like, just let it be. It's not reappearing because it's being recreated. It's leaving, right? And so this is another good question for us, guys. When you're experiencing something in your reality, incoming or outgoing, incoming or outgoing, incoming or outgoing. Is this an incoming energy? Like, am I inviting it in because I'm still creating it, or is it outgoing, right? And we have to begin to all recognize when these things are coming up for us. Is it on its way in or on its way out? Because that's a good part of discernment. It's a good part of discernment. It's a good part of discernment. So I promised myself today that I was going to show up as all of me, which means that Corey's got tobacco. Oh my gosh, not tobacco! Yeah, he's got tobacco. He's gonna smoke a corncob pipe for a little bit today, because I said I'm done with trying to, yeah. We're all just working through our stuff. So, I think we're gonna do a reading. I think we're gonna do a reading for the collective, see what wants to come up. For the collective. For the collective. How's everyone doing? If you want to type in the chat and just say, how's it going, you can. We're just kind of kicking back and taking it easy as we're aligning some things. There's a really beautiful, there's a summit coming up later on this month, and when that comes up, I will put links for everything on there. We've got a beautiful family coming together to do a summit, to do a little symposium, and shout outs to them. I don't know if I can fully air it right now and talk about everything that's going on, but shout out to you, Mama Bear, for putting up that symposium. So there's going to be a group of light workers coming together, having a little solar fun, little heart light pulsation coming through later on this month on January. Or is it January? January 20? Oh no! Oh, we're okay. Yeah. I get it. Yes, okay. Yeah. So there's some stuff coming on. Some stuff that's aligning that's fun. 1313 here. 1313. If you guys have been getting blasted by the lunar frequencies, last night we got hit with gamma hard. So if you were up until 5 in the morning doing that was the moon. That was the moon. Guys, don't play into the lunacy. Here's what I want to state. If you're aware of the full moon. Oh, nice. With Diana Cooper. She makes decks, right? Diana Cooper makes decks. I believe so. So if full moon has been hitting you and you feeling like you're losing it, I want you to look at your belief systems with lunacy and lunatics. Okay, it's not happening anymore. It showed up for me last night. I was like, wait a minute, because like this moon, if you tune into the essence of the moon lately, it's so calming and comforting, and it's because we got the moon back. Like we've got Luna back. Yeah, don't play into the lunacy. The lunacy, the lunatic stuff, it is a belief system, and people are going to go through that. But here's what I want to state, guys. Okay, here's very clear for us. Gamma, any of the light codes, any of the frequencies, especially gamma rays, it's going to affect your central nervous system. So if your central nervous system is kicking up, it has nothing to do with Luna. It's got nothing to do with Luna. It's got nothing to do with Luna. And it's got everything to do with how your physical body is reacting to the energetics. So we want to stop playing lunacy in the lunatic cycles, because it's been creating fear in regards to the moon. Oh my gosh, full moon. And think about the narrative that starts to play out, right? Like I've encountered this, especially, people with like behavioral health diagnoses, people that have dealt with psychosis, people that have dealt with heavy drug abuse. It's like when the lunar frequencies kick up, their stuff kicks up. It's a program, guys. It is a narrative. The narrative it doesn't exist anymore. The narrative has been shifted out since November 19th, and we're just now at the trail end of dissolving all that, okay? So please disregard those stories. If you find the full moon is affecting you, right? Don't play into it, right? Like, and I'm even seeing it. I'm seeing it the same with Mercury retrograde, right? Like everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, Mercury retrograde," and it's like, guys, you do realize you're just hyping up a distortion. You're basically stating, because of this alignment, I'm not going to be able to communicate and I'm not going to be able to travel, right? And it's like the planetary cycles, right, in the energetics of the astrological alignments and all that stuff does have an effect on our physical body structure. It has an effect on us. Yes, it does. But if you play into the storyline or the narrative that's been put forward for so long, you can succumb to that narrative. Like, yeah, if you want to not travel during Mercury retrograde, cool. If you want to be able to not effectively communicate during Mercury retrograde, cool. If you want your ex to show up during Mercury retrograde, cool. Have fun with that, right? You can also use that energetic to bring you into some sort of harmony and balance, right? And so we don't have to give our power away to astrology, because we are the astrology, and it's intuitively going to speak to you, through you, in your body, without you having to pay attention to it, right? And so we have to be mindful of these things, especially when it comes to like waking up and consumerism, right? A big one, myself included. When it comes to being like a spiritual entrepreneur, how do I put this into a framework where humans can feel comfortable, and how do I label myself as an energy worker, as this, or as an astrologer? It's like there's nothing, I have nothing wrong with it, right? I love astrology, but we also, it ties very much so into the lunacy cycle and the lunatic cycle, right? Which is like, oh my gosh, the full moon comes up and I turn into a werewolf. You're a werewolf 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you want to be a werewolf, you're going to be a werewolf, right? If you want to be a shapeshifter, you're going to be a shapeshifter. It doesn't take a full moon to do that. But like, the thing is that there's been amplified distortion on us creating judgment against the moon, judgment against the stars, judgment against all these things, right? We don't have to fear the moon, guys. We don't have to fear the moon. We don't have to fear Mercury retrograde, right? Allow the cosmic orchestration and the flow to open up to you what you need during that process. So if Mercury retrograde is medicine, right? What is the medicine that Mercury retrograde is bringing for you? If the moon is medicine, you taking the medicine of the moon are gonna have some sort of reaction, right? Like what is it doing? Is it stabilizing you? Is it gifting you the opportunity to play with your magic, right? Like last night my temple started to get mad at me, right? It was really funny. The moon came out, and all of a sudden my temple's like, you need to clean me. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to clean you, right? And that was my gift from Luna. Luna was like, I just want you to clean your place. Light some candles, have fun. I wasn't doing hocus pocus, right? But it's always going to gift us something. So what is the medicine from these astrological alignments? What is this planetary system gifting me, right? What is the medicine? Right? Rather than giving ourselves into the storyline that was created from before, right? And once again, we're in an evolutionary state, guys. We're going to see these things evolve. The planetary systems are going to evolve. Our connections with the stars are going to evolve, right? Our connection to different archetypes evolves. our connection to architecture evolves, right? So gift yourself the opportunity to evolve, right? And please, like, go support astrologers like Molly McCord. I support Molly McCord 110%. I support a lot of Leo King, another great like astrologer and tarot reader, you know, Star Girl, all of them. I like very much so appreciative of them, and am not talking down on what they do. But we also have to make sure that we all represent ourselves as the masters that have this planetary connection, right? We're connected to Gaia, we're connected to the stars, we're connected to the planetary system, we're connected, yeah, to Venus, the moon, Jupiter, right? And like, our body is going to have, since our body is connected to that planetary grid work and the universal grid work and the cosmic grids, right, is that there is an effect that has on us, but we also have a you know, the collective effect, right? We have so many different things that align with this, right? So it's just about you tuning into what's right for you, right? And making sure you're not, that you're giving yourself permission to be the master again, that you know intuitively what is for you, that you intuitively know how these things have an effect on you. Because like, I know, once again, I noticed it last night, the moon came up and I was like, why am I going through this? And I was like, oh, wait a minute, this isn't real anymore, it's done, right? The only way that I could know that it was done was someone else had to say it's done, right? Clear, cancel, delete, it's done. So like, a part of this is like, if you witness that there's a program or a belief structure in your own life that no longer exists, please invite other people to let them know that it doesn't exist anymore. Because it's the hundredth monkey effect, right? If we get everyone to go, hey, these belief systems don't exist anymore, and we all start to believe that, guess what? They don't exist anymore, right? And like, our reality changes, and like, we collectively can do that, right? So if I state this, right, that hey, lunacy isn't real, right? A lot of, yeah, I will, thank you, sweetie, not you, text message. If you state that lunacy isn't real, okay, and then we get 100 people to all align to recognize that lunacy isn't real anymore, guess what? Lunacy isn't real anymore in the collective. So like, we all can start working with one another to prepare ourselves for what these new things are for ourselves, by gifting ourselves the opportunity to state, hey, these belief systems don't exist anymore. We can uncreate them from our reality. Sometimes we need that permission though, right? Like, and even for myself, when it came to showing up, it was a download I got. I was in Minnesota. I was going through an awakening process, and a surrogate higher self showed up. That is someone that I would call a master. And they showed up, they came right before me in a vision. They said, Corey, it's safe to be the master. And it was like, oh my God, I can be what? I'm like, you know, there goes the tears, right? There goes the tears of like, oh wait, I can be what? It's like, yeah, you can show up as that. Like, you can be the light, right? You can be the lion, right? You don't have to fear anymore. You can show up as love, right? And sometimes we need that permission, right? Because when in society do we see someone come up and say, hey, it's safe to be the master again, or hey, it's safe to be source, or like, your life is complete just as you are, right? You're whole and well just as you are, right? Like, sometimes we need permission to be well. Like, sometimes for some people, we need permission to be love. Sometimes we need permission because that was a part of a sequence or a characteristic that we gave of giving our power away to someone else to tell us what to do, right? So, you know, if there's anything that I can do right now, like, please, I will state, it's safe to be in your mastery. It's safe to be whole now. It's safe to be complete just as you are. It's safe to be perfect just as you are. Now, but please, don't keep waiting for that permission. Take your power back. You can gift yourself permission to be exactly as you are right now. You can gift yourself permission to show up just as you are. Whether other people like it or they don't, right? Like, just keep being you, because it really is about your self-esteem. Right? It's about your self-esteem. And if you are fearing retribution from that, okay, let's look into that, right? Where does that play into past lives, right? Where did it occur in this life? Why are you still keeping that belief system active and alive? How can you shift it out, right? It's safe to show up as yourself, guys. Nothing's gonna happen. I promise you, right? I promise you. And see, there was the if and the but. The if and the but came, right? Which is just another parallel storyline that's an excuse to keep that narrative alive. Why? But what if, like, listen, if you showing up as yourself is going out and getting a flamethrower and stupid stuff, okay, cause and effect. You go deal with that one. I'm talking about just sharing your truth, sharing your authenticity, right? It's going to be different for every single individual, right? If it's like, it's the same thing with this, is like, if someone were to tell you to go jump off a bridge, would you go do it, right? And this ties into a lot of what's happened with the lines of the guru and giving our power away to people, right? Tell me what to do. Okay, play hopscotch for 10 hours. What? And it's like that's a lot of those cult lines, that's a lot of the guru stuff. Like, it's not there anymore, guys. It's not there. It's just not there, right? um don't be afraid to be in your power. Don't be afraid to be in your light. Don't be afraid to be in your mastery. Don't be afraid to be in your sovereignty, please, right? Please be your sovereign self. Be your sovereign self. It's important. We need more people that are standing in that authenticity fully, right? So, yeah. So anyway, lots going on. What is it, 45 minutes? We've been rambling for a little while. So I think we're going to do a reading. We're going to do a reading? We're going to do a reading. Corey, smoking a corn cob pipe. Don't be afraid to be yourself, you know. Don't be afraid to be yourself. Yeah, and you know, so here's the thing, the villain's a big one. The villain. That is a part of the architecture, guys. If it shows up in your reality and it's a part of your creation, own it. And please, if you can, gently caress the like button, or play patty cake with the like button. I'd really appreciate it. It helps with the algorithm. When it comes to the villain, that is an archetype that plays, and it's a lot of those aspects and versions of ourselves have lacked love at some point in its life, right? So we have to look at that. Anything that has been reactionary based upon a fear construct, right? Like let's look at Hitler, right? Like, if you go into the storyline of what occurred to Hitler, right? You can, if you're compassionate at all, and you believe the story, right? Let's just say that if you believe the story and how he was raised, very understandable, right? That's responding and reacting from wounding. And so a lot of this stuff with like the villain and the totalitarian stuff, right, is that, and the rebel too, like the rebel, there's always a cause and a purpose for that. Like, I see rebels that work with social injustice, and they're doing it from a place of loving and caring. So by no means, like, we can't fixate to any belief systems or anything Corey says regarding this, because I'm starting to see it and I'm like, dude, this is actually, Corey, you just went into a rabbit hole. And we'll see you on the other side of that one. Clear, cancel, delete that, you know. But it's like, it's more that we have to make sure that, where is the architecture, the archetype responding from? What is it doing? What is, when it's doing, what is it, where is it coming from in the doing place, right? So is it acting from wounding? Is it acting from victimization? Is it doing this because that's a part of the soul purpose, right? Like, we have to look at all those things. And even a lot of these things, I've noticed that, you know, a few people lately have been in these situations where they're like, why is this happening to me, right? Well, it's like, can you see that the people that are showing up are actually a master, that are showing up and gifting you the opportunity to learn? Yeah, see, rebel archetype changing, more love. Exactly. Love is going to be, love is the alchemy that helps to transcend the dissonance and the discord between these different characters or archetypes, especially when it comes to villain and hero, right? Like, think about the hero's journey. The hero's journey has always had the archetype. It's the hero sets out on a quest. It reaches a point on its journey where it can't go back, and it just keeps moving forward. And this is where we start to say, once a pickle, always a pickle. My dad used to say this: dip a cucumber in brine, it's going to turn into a pickle. Once a pickle, always a pickle. So when you're playing with, you know, things like the hero's journey, the hero, what does the hero do? The hero goes into the cave, it conquers its monsters, right? And then it meets a villain, and it rises up to save the day. And so we always have to make sure too that it's like, it does that art, like, so if that archetype serves as a necessary functioning for you to be able to evolve as a soul, beautiful. But you also have the power within you to recognize when that deeply ingrained belief system can shift out. You don't need to do that, because a lot of this journey, okay, with the hero's journey, what is it? Go into a cave and fight what? A monster or a dragon? Well, what do you do when You recognize you're the monster and you're the dragon. Do you keep fighting yourself? Do you keep fighting who you are? Or do you surrender to the fact that that version of you that you're meeting in the Dark Hidden Cave really needs love, right? There's been a lot of demonization that's been occurring with the dragons, right? If you're a dragon, right, and you've been showing up in your kunkade, you've probably felt this, especially if you have a red dragon. If you've got red dragon on the night side, right, and I love my dragons. If you've got dragons and a lot of dragon within you, yes, the demonization of dragons has been coming up because the dragons have been doing a lot of work. Miss Remy was doing some readings regarding the sea serpent and things like that, and like that means that we have to make peace with a lot of versions, like Archangel Michael. How many times has Archangel Michael shown up and slain you, right? How many times have these warrior archetypes shown up with their swords on, trying to put you into a corner, right? And that's the interesting thing about the hero's journey is it's like the hero goes in the cave and fights the monster. What do you do when you recognize you're the monster, right? And so for a lot of our realities, we fight ourselves, myself included. I've had so many wars with myself, where I've woken up and I've beaten myself up, right? I've neglected a version of me, and I've just been beating myself up. Well, you don't have to do that anymore, right? Like, we have to stop demonizing the dragons, guys. Dragons are not demons. Like, yes, there are some dragons out there that are very scary and they're very powerful archetypes, right? But dragons are not demons. They're not. And right now it's important for the dragon kids to be able to show up in their dragon. Because if you've got a lot of dragon within you, or you've dealt with a lot of dragon stuff, exactly what I mean. How hard it's been just being a dragon on planet Earth. And dragons are the creators of worlds. Like, dragons are such an important support system here on Gaia. Like, the rainbow serpent lines, Quetzalcoatl, right? We've had dragon lineages that have stretched beyond time and space, and we've also had a lot of distortion in the dragon lineages, especially when we start to go into the Draco profiles, right? And it's like, dragons are not demons, guys. They're not demons, but there is some upgrades that need to occur, okay? And that's what will happen to a lot of our aspects, is sometimes they have to go through a softening. They have to go get their heart open again, especially with all the wounds, you know? Dragons are protectors of children, guys. Like, if you ever work with the dragons are there to help the kids. They're help to protect planet Earth. They help families. They whole, like, it's so interesting how people keep fighting dragons, and it's like, guys, like, have you ever really sat down and worked with the dragon? Like, the dragons are there. They're doing a lot of big work for the kids, for the children, and to bring innocence back. Like, why would we want to fight that? I don't know. I don't fully know. Anyway, I think we're done with that one, because that one has been coming up a lot. Okay, so we're going to go into I think we're just going to do a collective reading to see what wants to come forward. I don't know if it's going to align with the messages that have been coming forward today, but we will see. So what messages want to come forward for the collective today? Thank you guys for your likes, shares, and subscribes. Oh, I'm definitely a dragon. I am definitely a dragon. I've got dragons on me. Born year of the dragon. Born year of the dragon. And remember, we've got earth dragons. We've got cosmic dragons. Dragons from Sirius B. We've got dragons from the Pleiades. Red dragons, pink dragons, rainbow dragons, gold dragons, pearl dragons, Sophia. Yes, dragons are beautiful. If you guys have been resonating with being a dragon, and you're interested in a good movie, and it helped me a lot, Raya and the Last Dragon. You know, yes, there's programming, there's stuff and subliminals in media, but like Raya and the Last Dragon has a really powerful message. Very powerful message. Okay, 10% battery. We all at 10% battery, so we gotta get moving so this thing doesn't just die on us in the middle of the reading. And guys, if you've reached out for a reading and I haven't been able to get back to you, it's because of how everything's aligning in my reality right now. So I just want to say I apologize. I love you. And yeah, we'll just leave it at that. We'll leave it at that. All right. So what messages? Okay. Busa tierra. Sangu huba. What messages want to come forward for the collective? Tanyo gana siya parangu ko kay. Naria cosa dia vara, mostane canto mai. What messages want to come forward for the collective today? What messages want to come forward? What messages want to come forward? Ooh. Tech's almost ready. Tech's almost ready. I can feel it. It's lighting up now. There we go. There we go. That feels better. There we go. Sanduka me vedo ufande gandu mai sendi aqui o gandu ana moshade aqui. Ah, look, we're looking at the moon. We're looking at the moon. Looking at the moon. Yeah, so there might be a little bit weariness in connecting to the moon, guys, and into the moon lineages. Like, how do I offer my lunar, how do I share my lunar self with the world, right? There might be a version of the world that's been speaking of the speaking of the moon, speaking of Luna, right? That's very much so coming forward, right? So especially if you've got a connection to the moon or the lunar archetype, and you're like, how do I get up and show the world my lunar archetype or whatever it is? Just know that right now, it's going to come up. Start looking at different ways, like, you know, because there's been a lot of it's almost like, how do I show up in my shadow self? That's a little bit what's kind of coming through this message. The question point is, how do I show up in the shadow self? Well, shadow is unconscious. So once shadow becomes conscious, it's no longer unconscious, right? So like my 11D Elvin, one might consider to be shadow, but it isn't. It's an 11th dimensional being. My red dragon, 8th dimensional red dragon. It's a high vibrational being. It's not a 3rd dimensional being, but it will show up in its power. How do I show up in the shadow self? Well, once shadow becomes conscious, it's no longer unconscious. So it's just you showing up as you. So you don't have to fight the polarity. It's the invitation point to see it as God, to see it as love, and to recognize it as love again. There's a really good video for this, guys, that a great teacher, great way shower, Matt Kahn, does some shadow stuff. And he's got a video, I forget what it's called. I think it's like Know Your Shadow Self or something like that. And he talks about how to face the shadow. Really good video. So if you want to do some research on shadow work and things like that, check out Matt Kahn's video on the shadow self. It will help a lot. It helped me out a lot to see my shadow as God, as love, as light. Yeah, so we're looking at how we are so there's a lot of lunar soul family that's meeting up too, right? So there's a lot of this with the 6 of Cups. It's like, how do we integrate the child with this as well? And so you know, here's the thing, is that the energy of the Earth Goddess and all the lunar energies are so protective of the children, especially if you've got a grandma. If you've been to grandma's house and you know grandma's house, you know, in the archetype of grandma, like, which is like the crone, if you've got that's a version of you, very protective of the child. So it is from the sense of like, how do we play with the moon again, but also how do we share this new lunar frequency with the world, and how do we share that with one another. And it's happening. It's happening right now. Right now it's making sure that you're feeling at home in your own foundations in regards to the frequencies of Luna and in your moon magic, right? So like working on your full moon rituals, working on your new moon rituals, right? Lighting a candle, dancing under the moon, whatever it is, feel at home and secure with your lunar frequency, because it's safe to now. There was a period of time where we couldn't because there was a lot of distraction and a lot of stuff going on. That's done. It's done. It's done. You can show up and celebrate the moon again, right? You can celebrate the moon. Celebrate the moon. Yeah. Do unto others as you do to self, right? Choosing to walk away from having to fight these versions of yourselves that show up, especially in regards to the moon. So if it's like a goddess, or it's a deity or a pagan, whatever it is, right? Your belief system is yours. Choosing that we don't have to fight those versions of our creation anymore, but we can actually surrender and allow them in, because there's a lot of masters that have shifted out, right? And so as a result, things are different now. Things are different, where we don't have to fight. Things can just cross over peacefully now. Things are shifting. It's getting a lot easier. Especially if you've dealt with Twilight Masters and you've dealt with Dark Stars and things like that, guys. There's a lot of that stuff that's shifted out and it's being brought back into peace right now. So it is safe to play. Yeah, come into a place of empowerment in your own lives. We want to make sure that now is of empowerment, of knowing that we in the Christos tone, right? That like, so like if you work with the Christed frequencies or the Christ frequencies, Luna is a part of that, right? So there was a while for myself too where we saw this with the guardianship and stuff, where it was like Christ frequencies, Christ is solar, the moon is Satan, right? And it's like, okay, yeah, that's done though. Like that storyline is done. So like feel empowered in knowing that Luna is now a part of Christ. It's always been a part of Christ. It's always been a part of crystalline consciousness. But there was distortion in the field. There's a lot of stuff going on multidimensionally, interdimensionally, and it's all forgiven. It's all forgiven. The war is over. We won, right? Stand in your truth, stand in your clarity. Um, the division, the separation is an illusion. The division and the separation is an illusion. Luna is your friend. Luna is a part of Christ consciousness. Okay. Luna is a part of Christ consciousness. We just have to see it as such and accept it in as such. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Any other messages coming forward for the collective? Ooh. Yeah, communicate with Luna. Communicate with Luna. Communicate with Gaia. Communicate with Gaia. Okay. Take that moment to talk to the moon. What does the moon have to say to you? Also speak with Gaia. You know, have that connection point. There's also communication coming in for the fire mamas, right? So if you are a dragon mom, or you connect with the Sophia, right? There's going to be communication from other dimensional versions, right? Dragon lineage stuff. It's going to be coming through. It's going to be coming through. So pay attention, guys. Pay attention. Some of you might be starting to connect with your dragons more, right? And your dragons have something to say. Now, if you've got polarity that you need to dissolve with the dragons, that's a thing. If you've got polarity to deal with your elven, that's a thing. If you've ever worked with like, you know, dark pixies or the dark fays or any of those, like those elementals, we all have things that we got to work through, you know, at different levels. So yeah, if you do get communication links from your dragon or communication regarding your dragon, the dragons are going to start connecting with you more. They do not need to be feared. They do not need to be feared. But some do need to be brought into balance, and I recognize that, because some of them just they've been through a lot. The dragons have been through a lot. They've been through a lot of war. They've been through a lot of subjugation. They've had to hide. They've had a lot of swords thrown in them, right? And it's like, so it's the same thing as a wounded veteran. It's the same thing as you beat someone up enough times, right? They're going to become a fighter, right? If you know, it's just it's what occurs, but it doesn't have to keep occurring, right? And for many people will say dragons represent hell. They can if you want them to, but my dragons are just pure power, fire. My dragons don't have any sort of representation of hell. They don't have representation of control. It's just pure fire, right? It's fire, it's love, it's purity, right? And here's the thing is the distortion will clear once you purify enough to be able to hold the frequency of the dragon from within you. Plain and simple. Um, anything anything that you witness as an archetype in your reality that is giving you fear, it's giving you fear because that's something that you need to see within yourself. Plain and simple. It's as simple as that. If you don't like something, it's because there's still some sort of fear within you, right? And I just want to state that. I just want to state that is that if there is a shadow version, like a dragon, or a Mayan, or a god or a goddess, or the priest or the preacher or the Buddhist, right? And you have fear from it, it's showing up to show you the fear. That's God's source light saying, hey, here's something you need to see. Here's something you need to see. So yeah, communications will be coming in from the dragons, which is good to see. I love working with the dragons. I love my dragons. I love my dragon family. I love all my dragon family. Yeah, release the control. Release the control, release the fear. Especially in regards to yeah. Freedom for the dragons. Right, so the fourth dimensional dragons gone through a lot. A lot of them need to have had to go through a lot of shifting up in density, especially dragon moth stuff. So if you're aware of dragon moth, you'll know what I mean. But the higher dimensional dragons, the celestial dragons, and the seraphim and the Sophia dragons, please let them play. Please let them play. Do not fear them. They're very beautiful. They're very powerful, and they're just creators. That's it. They're architects. They are creators, right? Let them be architects. Let them build universes. Let them build universes. Okay? Kasi sino ka teveria sur ushkantiva. Me via kur ustu kotokaya misidivai. Paste di kintai ki sisumahita kartish kukukukotakaya raku fumoy. And if you guys want to connect with your dragon more, or you want to know more about your dragons, you can reach out to me. I do a lot of dragon work, and we can do some dragon activations together. So yeah, release the fear. Release the fear. Release the fear. Release the fear of your dragon family. Sandura fintu casa. Alright. How are we all doing out there? How are we all doing out there? Yes, dragon moms. Dragon moms are beautiful. They're very protective. What dimension is cosmic? I mean, 70 and higher. Go 70 and higher with cosmic. That's what I'm hearing for you. 70 and higher. 70 and higher. Yeah, because like I think the highest that I've seen my the highest dimensional dragon that I've seen for myself has been 10D dragon. Has been my 10D dragon, and it's a black dragon. It's a big dragon. It's really hot. Also, too, is if your dragon gives you a name, don't share the name with the world. Do not, unless it gives you permission. If your dragon gives you permission to share the name, share the name. But some of us, we don't share the name of our dragons out loud. So yeah, but yeah, there's some really beautiful dragons. Well, I don't know what that means. So Twitty, if you, how's the best way to say this? You have an connection point to many different dimensions. Some people have access point up to like the 22nd, 23rd, and even higher dimensions. If you tune your broadcast antenna up to the 7th dimension, right, or even up to the 8th dimension, and call in your